Okay, guys, here we go with another podcast recording. This one, hopefully, will end up going out as a podcast. Yesterday's did not, as well. I should wait. Hey, Kaiser. Um, as in editing it, I did a shitty job yesterday on the podcast. You guys were spot on, but I was the drizzling shit, so I'm not going to put that out there for public consumption, especially this early in the podcast's life. People listen to that one and be like, this guy doesn't know anything about hosting anything, goddammit. Thanks, Z. Yeah, Willie's here. I don't know. It might not. I don't know what Z Productions said. Now, again, let me explain to you guys. For the first 5 minutes, we just sit and chat, and then we'll get started. That allows people to get in here, and we'll get started with the podcast recording itself. Z says, I have a feeling this won't go well. I don't know. It depends on your definition of go well, I guess. Excuse me. Did you mean the drooling on myself that I was doing? If it inspires some debate, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I did, Big Green. I don't know if you caught it, Big Green, if you were in here for it. Did you hear what I was saying? I'm not even posting that podcast recording from yesterday. As I said, you guys were spot on. What you brought to the conversation and everything was perfect. As far as hosting, if it was a baseball game, I would have been 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. And a bat would have slipped out of my hands, gone into the stand, and knocked some grandma's teeth out. I mean, it was that bad. It was. It's like, yeah, I'm not posting this. I mean, it's still up if you want to see. If you're into bad hosting, it's still up at the YouTube channel, but I'm not putting it out as a podcast. You been getting notifications this week, Connor? Or Red Wolf? Well, you know, these family friendly. Yeah, think what you're saying. These family friendly drag shows have been getting a lot of publicity, a lot of attention recently in the media, in social media. And once we get into the podcast, I'll tell you what I think about it. And I'm really want to find out what you guys think about it. Doing good, Isaac. Oh, you can't stay, Wolverine? No, that's too bad. Yeah, Susan did step down, Isaac. Yep. They already have her replacement selected. I think in place. I don't remember if she's actually out or if she had given a date she was leaving. But yeah, Susan is stepping down. Again, you know, all the jokes and meme worthiness of Susan aside, I don't have any issues with her. Big Green says, I didn't think it was that bad. The topic might be getting old already, but I thought it was fine. See, I didn't. I just think that in hosting it, I wasn't very fluid with it. I didn't do a good job of getting to you guys' comments on a regular basis and keep the flow and feel of it alive. It just was not a good performance by me. Jack says, oh, is this because of the ban the governor of Tennessee wants to have on drag shows despite being caught in drag once himself? Another example of hate being internal. No, I mean, it's nothing that specific. The now we're talking about these quote unquote family friendly drag shows specifically, not necessarily drag shows in general. And, well, I'll get into that more when we actually start the podcast portion. I did hear about that though, Jack, but no, not specifically about that at all. Let me get this mic down here more out of the way. I'm sure that sound of the mic arm moving is always pleasant for you guys too when I get readjusting it. Alternate Swim says, I remember the only drag show I watched as a kid was Dragnet. Dragnet. Alternate Swim, you aren't old enough to have actually watched that when you were a kid as it aired, right? Had to be reruns. Because, man, if not, you're right up there with me for age. Connor says, hey, Curtis, I will not watch a new Flash movie. I hate the actor, such a heinous person, never supporting him. Yeah, I know. We could do a podcast about that. Not just that specifically, but the concept of how tightly should actors, authors, etc., be tied to their works. Will you not watch something because you don't like the creator involved? Kaiser says, "Wow, I literally heard of Dragnet today. It was big back in the day. What was? Oh, doom. I remember the theme. Doom, 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 doom. The stories you're about to hear are true. The names have been changed, but I remember all that stuff. I can't remember what the name of the lead actor was. I wanted to say Jack Lord, but that was Hawaii Five-0. Jack Webb. Thank you, Slim. Yeah, Jack Webb. Yeah, I figured you had to catch it on reruns. So you're not as old as me. Wow, Chrome says I've read around 30 plus or so books this year already. Wow. That's more than I've read in, ever. Yeah, I can't think of his name, but the actor from Flash, yeah, I'm aware of his history. Jack says, I would have kept listening to Billie Jean if Michael Jackson had been found guilty of Kitty Fiddles. It's a good song. Yeah, we'll do a podcast. I think that's a very interesting topic about, what's your line in the sand with a creator as far as still supporting their work. Okay. We're 7 minutes in. Okay. In just a moment, we're going to get started with the podcast portion. Now, again, for anybody that hasn't seen us doing these yet, in the podcast section, I'm going to give, my take on the topic at hand, and then I'll be going to the chat to get you guys involved with it. Then when the podcast section is completed, I'll hang out a little bit and we can just chat like we usually do on these streams. And Big Green, I can guarantee I'll forget to mention that tomorrow will be Free for All Friday, because it will actually be Free for All Friday. Excuse me. Okay, guys. Excuse me. Going to give just a few seconds of silence. So I have a edit point, and then we're going to start the podcast. Okay, guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Curtis Kendi podcast. Today, I think we got a topic that should inspire a lot of fun conversation today. We're going to talk about these family-friendly drag shows and what you guys think of them. As always, this podcast is being recorded in a live stream at our YouTube channel, which is Spaz Boys Comedy. So if you want to be a part of the podcast themselves, the recording, so you can have your voice heard here. And soon, literally, I'll be bringing you guys on that want to, so you can actually speak on the streams. Just look us up and subscribe there. We also have video content here, but you're more than welcome to just hang out for the podcast. Now, let's get right into it. For those of you who don't know, drag shows have been around for decades. It seems recently there's a significant more push towards these family-friendly drag shows. And all that means is just what it sounds like. Kids are involved. Kids are a big part of the audience. As this is a podcast, there's no sense in me getting video clips. It's a podcast. Even with my limited understanding of all things technological, I know that's that having video on it, playing on a podcast doesn't benefit a lot of people. But if you search family friendly podcast on Google, on any form of social media, you can see plenty of videos of what goes on there. Some of them, and again, there's video evidence, it's not an opinion, are fairly explicit. I got looking into this strictly for research because I wanted to see, what was involved, what all the hullabaloo was about. That's an old person word, hullabaloo. You youngsters wrangle that one into your vocabulary. And to be perfectly honest, do I think these are inappropriate for kids? From where I sit, yeah. I'm not, I should put it right out there, because I see a lot of the people that are really hardcore against them are very religious, and that's not surprising. That would be against their moral standing. I am not religious at all. This has no religious background to it whatsoever, my opinion. It's just that I don't think that that kind of overt sexuality, and it is, I see a lot of people defending it, or people that participate in these family friendly drag shows defending it by saying, oh, it's not sexual at all. Well, yeah, it most certainly is. I mean, I've seen a lot of the shows where the performers are dressed in S&M type gear, and there was one with the performer had on a very brief bottom with a trunk of sorts attached to those briefs in a very convenient location. And I have seen clips of them where they're having the kids, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, all at 10, 11, it looked like, stuffing dollars into G-strings. So do I think that's inappropriate? Yeah, I wouldn't want my kids at that. Now, is it inappropriate just because it's gender bending? No, I wouldn't take my kid to a straight up strip club either, for the exact same reasons. I don't think it's appropriate for them to see. So I try to understand, and in any topic we take, I try and look at both sides. So I try to figure out what would possess parents to want to bring their children to something like this. At first, I got looking at the entertainment itself, and to be perfectly honest and perfectly blunt in my opinion, as far as entertainers, as dancers, as specialty novelty acts go, they're really pretty average. As singers, I didn't hear anything that sounded like maybe the upper crust level caliber of karaoke at your local bar. It's nothing spectacular. Now, the outfits are outrageous and colorful, but to me, if you wanted your child to have entertainment that was outrageous and colorful, there's plenty of cartoons that are directed towards that age with a theme of that age. Hell, Barney the Purple Dinosaur, who used to annoy the living hell out of me for some reason, was at least colorful and entertaining. It just seems to me that the innocence of childhood is such a fleeting time anyway, that having children exposed to this type of, again, overt sexuality, because that's what's going on, is just rushing things. Why? There's no reason for them to need to see it. Now, if the parents want to go to it, fine. That's their thing. And I can speak to this too, as far as the lack of quality that I see within the acts themselves, because many of you know I was a professional wrestler for almost 30 years. I spent my whole career on the independent scene. Now, when people would come to our wrestling shows, are they seeing wrestling the caliber of what the WWE and their cohorts are putting out? Absolutely not. Some of our matches were the drizzling shits. I mean, we had some good workers in there. I consider myself to be a decent worker, but is the content to that caliber? Not even close. But here's the difference. When people came to see our wrestling shows, it was because they were wrestling fans, and this was the same type of entertainment that they watched on TV, albeit watered down, but it was an up close and personal experience with wrestlers. They got to see what it is they enjoyed. The one thing that was similar to the drag shows is flashy costumes and lots of violence, punching and kicking and rolling around on a mat. So they were there for a specific type of entertainment, even if it couldn't achieve the levels of quality that they watch on Monday nights on TV. I don't think any of the kids being brought to these drag shows are there because they're fans of dancing or of they're big independent song fans. I don't think there's anything there that would be of an innate interest to a child. They're just there because parents brought them along. And that's the big difference. Again, our wrestling wasn't up to par with the WWE, but it was wrestling fans coming in to see it. The entertainment you get at a drag show is not on par with high quality dancing, singing, and that type of entertainment. And I don't believe most of the people there are necessarily even into that type of entertainment. And the reason I say that is if you look at, for instance, my granddaughter has been dancing for years, takes several different styles of dance. She does quite well at it. And when we go to even these big dance competitions, basically the audience is comprised of family and friends. And it's some good quality dancing. My point is, you generally don't get people coming into events of this nature that are not on a professional level unless they have a specific familial connection to it. The only thing I can figure with parents is, and I firmly believe this, I believe most of the parents that are bringing their kids to this are those who want something to get some social media points with. They want to tell their echo chamber that, yeah, I brought the kids to see one of the family friendly drag shows. You know why? Because I'm very open-minded that way. You really should, all of you, please give me praise. Do you think could you hit the like button on this post so I can feel validated? I believe 100% that's exactly why they're bringing their children there. I don't think the kids are particularly interested. In a lot of the videos I saw, the kids looked disinterested until they were refocused by the parents or the adults there saying, no, look, this guy in assless chaps is upside down on a chair. Isn't that cool? So no, I don't think it's particularly interesting to them at all. And I think the performers, again, I think, they're second-rate dancers and singers and whatnot. And they're out there trying to make a hustle, trying to make a buck. And if family friendly, whether it truly is or not, is an avenue in which to gain more attention and to get more $5 bills put in a G-string, I can't fault them for wanting to do that. Again, if I were fortunate enough in my younger days to have been a worker in the sex industry, because if I had tried that, I would have been laughed right out of the industry because, of certain equipment shortcomings. But if I were, I wouldn't be comfortable with having children witness my performance. It's not something I would have been involved with. To the people doing the drag shows, they're obviously comfortable with it. That's someplace, again, I would disagree. It's not something I think is appropriate in any sense. That's pretty much my take. Do I think that drag shows should be shut down? No. They've been around forever, and I think if somebody does something that entertains someone, they should be allowed to do it. Do I think that maybe there should be age limits on them? I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know how you would break that down as far as content, though. What can they or can't they do to get that age restriction? We deal with that all the time here on YouTube videos. But what I saw, the videos I've seen, I think cross a line over I think it crosses into territory where we already have rules about what kids can and can't see. Although I will say too, even an R-rated movie that's there to protect kids, if a parent brings them in, they can go. So I guess, I don't know, it'd be a tough sell to say that you can regulate against the kids seeing it. I would just question the motivations of parents who take kids to see things like this. But again, I think more and more often, parents are more interested in their own user profile in the world and in their echo chambers than they are in really looking out for their children anyway. I believe that goes on all the time. But let's turn to the comments and see what you guys are thinking about all this. Now, Here in our comment section, we do have on YouTube, there is such a thing called super chats. People pay to get their post noticed. We will always read those just because the super chats are what really help to support us making these podcasts. Now, Andrew says most places aren't even doing backgrounds on them. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that would be a bad idea to do background checks. I mean, and again, I can relate it back. That kind of entertainment is kind of a wild, wild west thing. You know, I worked with wrestlers who, once you got to know more about them, probably shouldn't have been out performing in front of people. Not for the same reasons, because they're potentially violent lunatics. So you can't regulate one without regulating all, I guess. But yeah, it would be good to know that, especially with something with the deep sexual overtones that can be portrayed here, it would be good to know that at least maybe they're not people with histories of run-ins with the law due to things of a sexual nature. Now, this comes from a user called George Carlin would have hated Andrew Tate. Says, my girl had picked her major for Stanford. She's going for materials engineering degree. She loves physics, but this is more hands-on. Oh, not on the topic much, but congratulations to your girl. Wow. And going to Stanford. You don't get into Stanford if you're a dummy. That's about the extent I know of about Stanford, but yeah, it's good school. Arthur says the only inappropriate show kids should be watching is Spaz Boys comedy. No, I got to disagree with you there, Arthur. Kids should not even be watching Spaz Boys comedy. For those of you who don't know on the podcast, that's as I mentioned earlier, that's the name of our YouTube channel. In all seriousness, though, I don't think kids should see drag shows. I agree. I don't think they should, but I err on the side of parents' rights over government. Agreed. So Arthur and I are right down the line. I do think it's something that's not appropriate for them. I think it's something that could be confusing to them, and there's no reason to expose them to. Expose is the perfect word. Expose them to. But as Arthur says, I'm the type, I get a little nervous anytime government starts trying to restrict things. You know, when you're talking about, if I can take that a step further too. With my wrestling career, for years, my son wasn't allowed to see me wrestle. The indicator for my wife and I that allowed him to start going and seeing shows was when we felt he could fully understand when I explained to him that everything we were doing is a show. And those are my friends. And I used to tell him, Dad and his friends play really rough. I'm not hurt. I'm going to pretend to be hurt, and it'll look like I'm hurt. And a lot of times I was, but I didn't tell him that. but it's, me and my friends putting on a show for people. So you could say the same thing. You say, well, parents are probably explaining that to them. The difference, again, is my son only went because he had an active interest in wrestling. He said he wanted to see it. I highly doubt these kids are saying, I really need to get out there and see a drag show. By the time my son could go, he had friends in his school and everything that were saying, I watched wrestling and, John Cena this, John Cena that. So he wanted to see it. Willie says you can regulate only one. We do it all the time. Well, yeah, you're right, Willie. Unfortunately, we do pick and choose regulation, and as you said, as you are alluding to, yeah, I'm not a fan. And Sasquatch Donut says probably not. I'm pretty sure Curtis Cousins all lose brain cells. Oh, having kids watch. Oh yeah, I think I've snagged a lot of you guys' brain cells. Hey, the chair shots did it to me. I'm just passing it along, sharing the wealth. Philip says, personally, I think drag shows ought to be restricted to 18 plus only, much like pornography or a strip club. Any drag performer who knowingly does something explicit in front of a child should be booked. Well, there's now the thing is, Philip, and I'm not sure. This is an honest question. It's not something I'm asking almost to further the conversation. I genuinely don't know. I think strip clubs now, if they're fully nude, I understand they're 18 plus, but they're at the drag shows, it's not fully nude. And for instance, if it's a burlesque show, which would basically kind of be like a strip show without full nudity. If they don't serve alcohol, I don't think they are 18 plus. Now, I don't think alcohol was being served at most of these drag shows I watched, but I don't know. That would be an interesting question. But yes, I understand where you're coming from. I think it's not a bad idea to keep sexually explicit stuff away from kids till they're older. But again, do these family-friendly drag shows cross over into the same category as strippers? I think clearly from what I saw. Arthur says in a super chat, giving government the power to override parents can easily backfire for the opposite result in the future. Correct. That's why you guys know I'm not a big fan of giving government any more power than is necessary to govern. Now Chrome says, my thoughts are there's no such thing as family-friendly drag shows. I've seen that in researching this, in reading up on it on social media. I've seen a lot of people who share that opinion. Drag by design is inherently sexual. I agree with that. It's burlesque. It's meant to be risque. If you push it on kids, you should be on a list. And to be honest, who's to say that they're maybe they are. Maybe they are on lists. Who knows? But yeah, I don't disagree with any of you. I think it's entirely inappropriate. It's just then I start struggling with where would I be a fan of government being involved, because that's a touchy subject for me too. And Andrew Wilson says drag shows aren't even a sexual orientation to teach, literally just sexualized entertainment in my opinion. Cross-dressing isn't an orientation. Right, yeah, I don't think I agree with that, Andrew. I don't think you can legitimately make a case for a drag show holding any type of educational weight. Yeah, I agree. It's as Andrew says, cross-dressing isn't an orientation by any means or anything. So it's, people could say, it's getting, and they have said online, it allows children to familiarize themselves with the LGBTQ community. There are certainly ways to do that outside of a full-blown drag show. Now, I have heard also of these drag story hours or whatever they call them, where drag performers read to children. If that goes on without the performance element of it, I guess, to a kid, it's just going to look like, oh, this person's colorful. This person's different. I guess that would be certainly more from my perspective, certainly more in line with what would be appropriate, but I don't know. I don't know if it's strictly reading or if there's actual performance as well. I'd have to look into that more. Arthur says, I don't think drag shows are inherently sexual, but I do think ones we are currently seeing are. We already have laws against exposing kids to that kind of stuff. We don't need new laws. I would disagree. I think, just in my experiences, Arthur, I think by nature, drag shows are sexual the same way burlesque was. I think there's supposed to be an element of titillation to drag show. I mean, could you do a drag show without sexual overtones? Sure. Could you do a burlesque show without sexual overtones? Sure. Would they fly? Would they be popular? I doubt it. So I think inherently is a fair word. Chrome says, look into the history of drag. The people who started it admit it's sexual, do they? It's not the same as cross-dressing. It's an exaggeration of woman in a sexual way for comedy. It's connected to strip clubs. That I know. It is connected to strip clubs and burlesque. Yeah, that is true. I agree. I think it is inherently sexual, and again, that's why I have no issue. And if I say "and again" one more time, I'm going to smack myself. I don't have a problem with drag shows in general. It's just the concept of why would we want to bring kids to something like that? As I said, I do believe that a majority of the parents who bring the kids there are doing it for the parents' own benefit, to raise their social media status. Unfortunately, the era we live in of online interaction, I think, drives a lot of the things that people in general do, and parents in specific, the way they go about parenting. To a lot of people, to a disturbing number of people, those social media points trump pretty much everything else. Got to get those likes and got to get those cheers from the echo chamber. And Lixbox says, yes, because drag is always done in a sexual nature. Bugs Bunny is a sexual deviant and shouldn't be allowed near kids. I'm not sure what you're talking about, though, Lix. And again, that could be my unfamiliarity with the totality of drag shows. So are you saying in drag shows sometimes they perform as Bugs Bunny? I'm not sure what the point was there. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to read more. I don't get it. Alpha Centauri says, reject drag shows, return to tradition. Give me those superb Japanese geisha performances. Now those are my kind of honeys. Happy Japanese fan dance, he says. Yeah, that's true. Geishas are another good example. And those geishas were designed to be inherently sexual. Arthur says, then we would need to ask if modeling is sexual. Oh, sure. To some degree. Absolutely. I mean, one of the oldest adages on the books is sex sells. So it depends on what type of modeling you're talking about, Arthur. But if you're talking about models on the cover of magazines, are they designed to be sexual? Quite often. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's just not women in skimpy clothes. It goes the other way too. If you're trying to appeal to women or even to the gay community, to anybody who would find an interest in a good-looking, well-built man, they get put on the cover of magazines for the exact same reason. Is all modeling sexual? No. But it's a much broader spectrum when you just talk about modeling than when you talk about something as specific as drag shows. Oh, Big Green says it's referring to the scenes where Bugs Bunny dresses like a woman. It happened quite a bit. Right. But when Bugs Bunny dressed as a woman, he wasn't dancing provocatively to the audience or all he was trying to do was trick Elmer Fudd into falling in love with him type thing. I understand where you're coming from, but it's apples and oranges. It's and I apologize for not grasping that sooner. It's apples and oranges, though, with what Bugs was trying to accomplish. As I said, I don't have a problem with drag performers. Now, if I was saying that, then those two things would be in direct correlation. I'm talking about whether or not it's a good idea to bring children to these specific drag performances. Willie says, listen, we can't stop kids from experimenting, especially if they're safe. That said, we as adults shouldn't be encouraging them. It's a parent's job to answer questions, but not to this extent. Right. Well, I think it's a parent's job to answer questions. And I think if, for whatever reason, your child comes across information, well, certainly it's all over the internet, sees something about drag shows and comes to mom or dad and says, what is this all about? The best thing you can do is sit down with the child and explain to him or her exactly what's going on. But that's different than having the child with no exposure to it and taking them out to the family-friendly drag show because, once you get back home, you got to fire up that social media and let everybody know how progressive you are. OFESP says, once again, if we are against kids being pushed agendas, why is it okay for churches to force the idea of no sex on them? Church exposed me to sex before society ever did. Why is it okay for churches to force the idea of no sex onto them? I'm not sure that abstinence or having a set of beliefs, and again, I'm not a religious person at all, but I'm not sure how the two things correlate. Because what we're talking about here is children going in and seeing something overtly sexual and whether or not they're ready for it. You're talking about children not having sex as a tenet of your faith. I don't really know how those two things, how you get those things together. They seem they seem entirely different to me. And I think you're talking with a generally an older crowd. Now, same thing there. If little Billy or little Susie has a question about sex, and that can happen at any time, and they have questions about it, and the parents want to say, okay, well, explain to them exactly what goes on and explain to them why they should wait until they are of an age where they can make an informed decision on such things. But yeah, I think that's kind of a stretch you're going for there. Chrome says, drag's fine, just keep it away from kids, and especially don't have kids perform it. I still remember that kid involved in drag for a gay no cameras allowed strip club. What's his name? Amazing Alex? I don't know. That's unfamiliar to me, but yes, I would agree. I personally don't think that's appropriate at all. Mortem says, I think we should all watch a drag show video together, then decide based on that clip. Well, I watched a bunch of the videos before doing this podcast because, I wanted to get more details on what was going on. Again, you can search family friendly drag show anywhere on the internet and find those videos. Arthur says, yeah, I'm not for the church's teachings. I don't think it's very healthy, but kids already shouldn't be intentionally exposed to it. It's way less damaging. Right. Me either. I have no religious faith, no religious alliance at all. But saying that within your church they teach abstinence as opposed to parents taking 6-7-year-old children out to watch a very sexually oriented show, I think it's a stretch to kind of connect those two. Jack says, if it's just a man singing in a dress, I see no problem. If it's burlesque and sexual in any way, then the parents shouldn't be taking them because, of course not. Well, the ones I saw, now again, I did watch a bunch of clips. There's tons of them out there. The majority of the ones I saw were absolutely burlesque in style. There's no question about it. I mean, we saw them doing the grind on the chairs in very limited amount of of clothing. I saw a man dressed in very S&M looking clothes in a very S&M looking configuration doing twists and flips, and it was the ones I saw were very sexual in nature. Now, it could be that those are the only ones that are being put out on the internet because those are the ones people have problems with. In fairness, there might be ones that are much, much tamer. That would be an entirely different conversation. Again, I would question, though, does a child of that age request going to something like that? And if not, what is the impetus for bringing them to it? See if they're interested in dance? I mean, I guess you could, but wouldn't you want to bring them to better dancers? At least from what I saw. Excuse me. OFESP says, I'm saying if we don't acknowledge sex in public, who said we aren't acknowledging sex in public? Why is it okay for a church to push it onto children in the name of purity? It doesn't make any sense. Well, for one thing, OFESP, if you're in a church, you've elected to go to that church. I'm just struggling how you're making this connection. Who said we don't acknowledge sex in public? I just said you absolutely have to acknowledge sex with your children when they bring it up. But I don't think anybody is bringing up abstinence to a child before that child has shown or expressed some sort of interest in sexual relations. If you're taking a 5, 6, 7-year-old out to a sexually charged show, I don't think that child requested to go see it. You're trying to expose them to it. That's, I still, again, I don't see what you're grasping at there. At a church that preaches abstinence is only doing so, you would assume, or I would assume, at least I had some experiences with church when I was younger, is only preaching that abstinence to those who are at the age to have curiosity about having sex. I don't know if there's ever an age where you have a curiosity about seeing the grinding of loins. Chrome says, yeah, a while back, one of the big drag kids promoted in the media was having a show at a strip club. Later found out they were doing that to him. Oh, I didn't hear about that. Lick says, I feel like we underestimate what kids are capable of comprehending. Kids can understand any subject if explained to them properly. It isn't deviancy unless the parents think it is. I don't recall, though, Licks ever saying that they weren't capable of comprehending. I'm saying, for me, I don't think there's any reason to bring children of that age out and to have them have the need to comprehend that now. Why? You know what? Again, the time of innocence and youth is so fleeting anyway. What if a child has a question of sexual nature? Absolutely, it should be explained to them. But why would you want to bring a child again? Okay, so if that's the train of thought, then you would say it's perfectly acceptable to bring kids to strip shows as well? I mean, but why? Why take children that young and have them start having to take in even more adult information than they need to? That's my point. I don't underestimate that not all kids, but that a lot of kids would be able to comprehend it. But why bring it up if they're not questioning it, would be the question I would pose to you. Arthur says, oh, also don't allow any kids to do the show either. That's messed up. Yeah, I didn't think that. I saw a lot of children direct interaction in it. And once again, has nothing to do with the cross-dressing element of it, because I would feel the exact same way about it if it were a strip show. But yeah, personally, I don't get it. Should parents, does that fall under the category of parental guidance? Yeah, it does. It's, it should be left up to the parent. But I have some real suspicions about why these parents would want to expose their kids to that. And I think it's self-serving for the parent. Let me see here. Andrew says kids can't even decide what they want to eat. They don't need to be shown this stuff and expected to understand. Right. I mean, again, if they've expressed a thought, a concern about it, or even a wonder about it, that's one thing. But to bring them to sexually charged events on your own, why start explaining it all to them then? Let them stay innocent for a while. They don't need to know about everything at such an early age. Let's see. Conrad Nell says, calling drag shows inherently sexual is just cringe hetero propaganda. I've been to many of them and they've only worn non-revealing dresses. Well, I don't think it's cringe hetero propaganda at all. I've seen drag shows long before the family-friendly drag shows, and all of them I've seen have had a sexual element to them, and that's not a complaint. It's what they're there for. It's again, they were associated forever with burlesque and strip clubs. I would say the opposite. I would say denying that drag shows have a sexual element to them is simply turning a blind eye to what their intentions always have been. There's nothing wrong with that. My issue is with the kids being exposed to it at an early age. But to say that drag shows are not inherently sexual is just wrong. Are there drag shows that aren't as sexual? I'm sure there are. And there are levels of everything. Again, you can go back to my wrestling career. There are wrestling shows that are much more violent than others that might be more appropriate in some people's eyes. So there are certainly levels, but to say that drag shows aren't inherently sexual is just, no, it's just not the case. They're very burlesque. They're very of that same nature. They've been associated with burlesque forever. Philip says, your kid has an interest in dancing. Take them to see a few musicals. I guarantee the quality of entertainment will be better. Don't take them to strip tease and drag. Well, that's what, I mean, as far as, that's what I was trying to get to. What did the child express as an interest that made a parent feel like they needed to get them out to a drag show? That's basically covering that. That's what I'm wondering. There's a new Matilda musical. Chrome says, take them to see that. Dennis Kaiser says, I don't even need to say much of anything, but the fact these progressive jokers defend this, but may give anime crap for pervy stuff that they carry out in real life pisses me off. Well, again, there are, in anything along those lines, there's always going to be lines that parents feel shouldn't be crossed for their children. What I'm saying with these drag shows is, why do parents feel like this is someplace they need to take their kids, or something that they feel the kids need to be exposed to? Even if it is the LGBTQ community, there are plenty of ways you can take your child to get more experiences with people within that community without it being sexually charged. There are certainly plenty of LGBTQ authors who routinely do book signings and read their books to children and things along those lines. There's plenty of other ways to go about it. And Jack says, even if the child is interested, doesn't mean they should be exposed to some things. If they ask how babies are made, you don't show them a porno. And that's a good point too, Jack, and how every parent approaches it. Right, even if they have an interest. Now, I'm not one for, if a child is fascinated by something or has questions about something, I'm not one for saying, oh, you'll figure it out when you get older. I don't think that's an effective way of doing things. For me, I would at least explain to them the very basics of whatever it is they have a curiosity about. And along with that, say, listen, it's not really something you have to worry about right now. Right now, just concentrate on being a kid and worry about kid things. But this is basically what you're asking. And if they ask me about drag shows, I wouldn't have to take them one to explain to them what goes on. It's not that hard to explain. So you say it's a form of entertainment that goes back for decades, where men would generally dress as women, and they would dress very flamboyantly and in brilliant colors, and they would do acts that are more attuned to adults. It's not that hard to explain to them what they are. Jester says, the origin of drag is from a time in when actors were only men. They performed in front of children, and it wasn't inherently sexual. There are sides of drag that are sexual, and kids should stay away. Well, yes and no, Jester. I don't know that that's the origin of drag. Yes, you're 100% right. There was a day when even Shakespearean plays, all roles were played by men. And so men would dress in drag to perform the female roles. There's no question about that. Is there a direct lineage to that in drag? In costume? Yes. In intent? I'm not so sure. I think the intent of drag shows has always been more burlesque-ish. And again, I know people get offended by things like that. That's not putting it down. There's nothing wrong. I have no problem with burlesque. I have no problem with drag shows. I just don't think burlesque or drag shows are necessarily appropriate for kids. But I know what you're saying, and I know people like to make that lineage. I would disagree that that's a direct lineage. That was actors were all male and dressed as females simply because women had no rights and they only wanted males to be in the spotlight. Let me see what else is being said here. Jack Queen says agreed should be within the right context. And now Soto Kemi has just come in and said, yeah, not a big fan of bringing children to drag shows either. Yeah, I mean, we've gone a long time on this one. Listen, this was a great conversation. And as I said, to reiterate, I don't have a problem with drag shows at all. If that's something you're into, good for you. Whatever somebody finds entertaining, whether I do or not, doesn't matter. I still will question why parents would want to bring young children to a drag show, just like I would question why parents would want to bring young children to a strip club, or why parents would want to bring young children to a burlesque show. I just don't really understand what the impetus for that would be. Even if the child has questions about such things, I just went over how easily it would be to explain to a child, because again, you don't just tell them, oh, no, worry about that later. To explain to them what it is without them having to experience it. Oh, and Arthur has a super chat. Yes, he's going to send me his message through Discord. YouTube does tend to which may mean we have to go away from this platform for the podcast at some point, but YouTube does like to randomly censor comments for some reason. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody here in the chat with me for the conversation. As always, gang, you can listen to this podcast. Well, you could see it, I guess, if you have a vivid enough imagination. Listen to this podcast at any of the regular podcast outlets. We're on Apple and Spotify and Google. So it's the Curtis Candy Podcast. You can hear it anywhere. You can also, at our Patreon, all the episodes go up there and they're totally free. Patreon membership gets you access to do things like have a voice in what topics we may cover, so on and so forth, but it's perfectly free to just peruse the podcast, and everything is under the Curtis Candy Podcast header. Search it on Patreon, search it on Discord, search it on Google. Oh, just search it everywhere. Just write it on a notepad and throw it up in the air, and something Curtis Candy Podcast will be in the paper when it returns to your hands. But thank you very much for this conversation. If you are listening to this or watching this at a venue that has comments, please feel free to leave those comments below. I really like hearing what you guys have to say. And we'll be back hopefully tomorrow with our Free for All Friday podcast. Free for All Fridays are, our gang here knows. What are they? I guess they're different. They're special. They're special in that way that my guidance counselor told me I was special before I got separated from the other kids. Okay, I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, guys, that was that outro. The only good thing I can say about the outro is it was intentionally cheesy, Big Green. Kaiser said, I saw a funny comic where a kid asked where babies come from. The mother paused and replied, Amazon? Milog says, Free for All Fridays are like Duck Duck Goose, but with bad touch. That's a disturbingly accurate description, Milog, now that I think about it. Time Link says, I think all of this stuff is being pushed by the Epstein Island visitors in the media and politics. Well, I think a lot of it's being pushed right now by echo chambers. People that want to they want to be accepted by a certain group. And it's like, how far can we take this outlandishness to prove that we're truly progressive? I think that's what pushes a lot of it. I mean, as I said during the podcast, you can't fault the performers. This is what they do to get paid. They're getting paid. Now, again, for me, if I was in the sex industry, I don't think I'd be comfortable performing for kids. Or even if you don't want to call drag shows the sex industry, something that suggestive, I wouldn't be comfortable performing for kids. But when I did stand up for a living, with the things I talked about, I didn't even think to bring this up. If somebody had brought their 7, 8, 9-year old to see my stand up show, I would have at least questioned that parent why they brought that kid here, because it's going to open up a lot of questions for them, and it's probably not appropriate. So, Jetfire says last post. Let me find that quick, guys. Says I found a way for you to find the Quora post you were talking about. How's that? Have I seen Dog the Bounty Hunter? I have, Kyle. I have. And Dirty Jobs? I don't think Dirty Jobs. Chrome says, by the way, Curtis, Konosuba's Megumin spin-off anime starts next month. Oh, that's cool. See, I like Megumin. I like her character a lot. She was never the top one for me, though. Which really surprises me that it was Aqua. Because usually I don't like whiny characters. And the easy thing to say is, yeah, well, look at the way Aqua's put together. Fair enough. She's gorgeous. But, come on. Gorgeous women in anime are not an oddity. There's some reason that whininess on Aqua just makes me laugh, whereas typically it would irritate me. Just so true to her character, I guess. Darkness is awesome. I agree. I'm Mr. Wall. Yeah, well, somebody that freaky, I'm going to like her. Hold on a second, guys. Let me catch up with what's going on. Okay. Kaiser says, to quote The Simpsons, or apparently Dragnet, drag show. How's that? It's his job. How's that? He's a drag queen. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Chrome says, by the way, Megumin's voice actor is an idol as well. She had a special message for fans going to her concerts. Oh, okay. Let me just check Chrome's link here. Something went wrong. Why? Twitter.com. Oh, it's giving me a something went wrong, Chrome. I don't know what's up. Let me try it once more. Open link in new window. Nope. Oh, wait. Now it's trying to. I think there was a problem with Twitter. Ri Takahashi, the popular voice actress and singer, requests her fans to bathe before her concert. For her first concert, she created a cute infographic filled with tips on what to do, including make sure you wash your body beforehand to don't bother others with your odor. Wow. Okay, so is Ri like a super clean freak? Or is that something that really needed to be said to the concert goers? There's a conversation going on here that I'm missing too. Because I see there's still conversation going on about the drag shows, but I missed it here in the and trying to keep up with the comments. Was a special message explosion? Yeah, Milog. Evgeny says, off topic but funny. Bunch of Russian anime fans, for those who don't know, Evgeny is Russian. Anime fans from several cities has started to call themselves PMC Ryodan after Genai Ryodan, Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter. Who's Ryodan in the troop? I can't remember. I love that show. They hang out in public with Phantom Troop spider logo on their backs. Police doesn't get it and is freaking out. They even suspect an operation by Western Secret Services. That's awesome. The spiders are creating havoc in Russia. I'm trying to remember which one of the spiders that was. That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good. You know you have quality fans if you say that, Time Link says. Chrome says, have you ever met Weaves, Curtis? It's genuinely a concern for idols. I believe it. I do believe it. At first, when I was reading that's what I was thinking. It's like, wow, she must just be like a germphobe. And then I got thinking, no, she might really have legit reason to to make that request. Jack says, "LOL, who's that anime actress or whatever who asked weebs to shower before they came to a convention?" Something like that. Yeah, that's that's pretty good. Okay. I thought it was a character, Evgeny. That's why I was confused. Okay, so I wasn't forgetting a character. It's just Phantom Troop in Japanese. Gotcha. Oh, that's funny. I think that's hilarious that by imitating imitating the spiders, they got the authorities on edge. That's awesome. I haven't seen Holes, Kyle. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen that. Big Green says, "Well, now that the podcast section is over, I can ask the question on everyone's mind. When can we expect to see you in drag?" See, unlike some of the drag performers I saw, I'm well aware that I'm aesthetically displeasing enough now that in women's clothes, it's just gonna get worse. Excuse me. Chrome says there was a YouTuber who once went around a fighting game tournament giving out cans of deodorant to Smash Bros players because it's just that notorious. Ooh, yikes! And it is funny as I was reading that, because again, that's the first thing I thought was, oh, she's, because it's not uncommon, she's a germphobe. But then as I was actually taking in the information, it's like, ooh, the other more likely option is this is advice they all really needed. Hey, the 28 or so of you that are in here, I'm still debating. This is off topic. Still debating on what I want to do direction-wise with the channel here. You guys think there'd be a lot of interest in me going back to some regular gaming? I really, really want to go all the way through GTA 5 bad. And I've been thinking about posting those here. And I'm trying to figure a way to keep everybody in touch that's here in the YouTube channel, in touch with the with the reaction videos we do to the series, but it's getting harder and harder to post them. Another Office I've pretty much given up on because they all get annihilated. We just had another Rick and Morty blocked. I've been thinking about maybe recording or live streaming myself recording those videos and see if that's enough to keep people interested in them, so they can, they can sync up what's going on. Or a lot of people know the episode so well they know exactly what I'm talking about anyway. I don't know. Porno channel. I wish, Jack. You think there'd be some interest in gaming? Well, it'd be streams and both, Big Green. It wouldn't be only streams. But for instance, with like the GTA 5, a lot of times it's more convenient for me to just record a video. So there would be that. But if we have something big coming up, or even just I have extra time, I would also do them as a stream as well. It would be a combination of both. It is starting to feel like the definition of insanity. But Philip, it's funny here. Now, actually, for the limited time it's been up, the Goosh Anime Club channel where I post the, where I've been reposting content that was here and posting edited content from the Goosh, for its numbers, for there being just under 1,000 people there, those do well. But here, those same things like Cyberpunk Edgerunners, Chainsaw Man do abysmally. So I'd like it if I could get all the people that like those type of content over into that channel over there. Yeah, it'd be clips of me playing. Sometimes it'd be clips. Sometimes it'd be like with GTA 5, it would be an ongoing series because I want to get through. I have never gotten all the way through it. And a lot of that reason is because GTA 5, I know a lot of you already know this, is the only time I've ever had an issue with my computer that I could not fix. Not that I'm a computer genius, it's just that it's my machine, and eventually I would find a cure for whatever ails me. GTA 5 would not, and the gang will back me up on this, would not run on this computer, and it used to. I tried everything. I tried using the Steam version. I tried using the direct download version, and it didn't matter what I did. It was choppy all the time. I tried everything that's out there as a tip. I did it during live streams. Everybody was trying to help me. And so I finally gave up and I bought it for the PS4. Now the PS4, I can play it without those issues. So now I finally want to try and go through the whole thing. Chrome says, I'd be happy with that. There's Hogwarts Legacy. LOL. I'd watch a full playthrough of that. Gaming streams are some of the things I'm always tempted to maybe sponsor. Yeah, well, it's actually a lot of it. What got me thinking about it is you guys that sponsor the games have got me into it. I mean, Alpha's been sponsoring games. Of course, BTG's been sponsoring them for us for ages. SL's been sponsoring. Oh, this freaking South Park game is a blast. And that's what kind of has gotten my gaming juices flowing a bit. You can, Jetfire says you can search the question on Quora. I would need, what type of search terms did you use though, Jetfire? I would need to know the search terms. Have I been to a restaurant called the Phantom Gourmet? I don't even know what the Phantom Gourmet is, Kyle. Next multiple posts, I'll tell you the question because it keeps getting censored. Okay. Oh, unfortunately, Fire. I apologize to you guys for that. There's no more I can do. I tell the system over and over not to censor anything in our chats, but I don't know why. Again, I've said it before. I don't know why they ask. I don't know why they give us the option because they're going to do it anyway. Obviously. Big Green says, well, the computer issues are one reason, but the other reason is that you just love to cause chaos instead of doing story missions. That's not incorrect. That's not untrue. But the problem was, Big Green, I had gotten it. Well, you know, you're with me in all the gaming streams. I had finally gotten motivated to complete it. I had taken that one stream off. I just wanted to run around and be stupid, but I was doing a good job of trying to complete the missions because I wanted to get to the end, and I finally just got frustrated. It's like, it's not fun for you guys watching. It's certainly not fun for me, the constant glitching, because it wasn't glitching on the stream. It was glitching natively on my computer. It's pissing me right off. Okay, Jetfire says, question, why don't the Democrats know about Trump's accomplishments? Okay, is that what you want me to... Hold on a second. Flyers wanted me to see this for a couple days. That's what you want me to put into Quora? There's Quora. And what do you want to ask? Oh, come on. Do you want to ask? Now, I gotta go back to that page. Hold on, guys. Let me get this from Jetfire real quick. It's YouTube virus preventing GTA from running. Yeah, really, Mr. Wall. The answer's by Randy Weir. Okay, why don't the Democrats know about Trump's accomplishments? Okay, why don't the Democrats know about Trump's accomplishments? Accomplishments? Yeah, that's good spelling, Curtis. Come on. Why don't the Democrats know about Trump's accomplishments? Oh, I don't want to add question. Oh, okay, it's got me adding a question. I want to search that question. Hold on. They don't have a... Okay, search Quora. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can get it. Now, who did you say the answer was from? Randy Weir. Let's see if I found it or not. William Parks, Colin Rose. I'm not seeing his response. No. Let me put Randy Weir in the search. Come on, Quora. Okay. Why do people actually support Trump aside from Joe Biden? He's got out. I'm finding all around it, but I'm not finding. I have him answering, why do people actually support Trump as a possibility of re-election? Oh, why doesn't he explain what his plans are? Let me go to this Randy Weir's page and see. I can't find this specific question. Oh, this Randy Weir posts a lot too. Put both the question Randy Weir and I did. Jetfire. That's exactly what I just did. And again, I get. See, I get him coming up, but it's not the answers to that question. I'm not sure how else to. And I put in, excuse me, why don't the Democrats know about Trump's accomplishments? Randy Weir. And I get answers to all kinds of things except that. I get his answer to why do people actually support Trump, and is there even a possibility of re-election? Aside from Joe Biden complaining constantly about President Trump, why doesn't he explain what his plans are? Why don't Democrats remind Republicans of the Hillary Clinton investigation when they criticize for their January 6th investigation? See, I don't get that question. I see a lot of his takes on things there. I see a lot of Randy's takes flyer, but it just will not give me that it won't give me that specific question. Can we just post a link in chat or something? Yeah, if anybody can get the link to me, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's what I'm looking at right now. I don't know why it didn't come up with that. It has plenty of Randy Weir responses, just not to that question. Word it this way: why don't the Democrats know what Trump accomplished? Okay. Why don't the Democrats know what Trump accomplished? Okay, why don't the Democrats know what Trump accomplished? And Randy Weir. Let's see if it comes up this way. That came up. Okay, now that comes up. Hold on. I think I may have it here. Okay, because the media did a terrible job of reporting it. I'm amazed at how few people realize the records he set. Oh, okay, and then it goes through a bullet list. First president in history to serve a full term. Increase the deficit every year. That I knew. Highest annual budget deficit, most added. Largest single day. First president almost century to lose jobs in his first term. Longest government shutdown in history. First president in history of approval ratings maintain a net negative. First president to be impeached. Twice for president to have bipartisan for his conviction after impeachment. Most indictments. Again, that's just a few of the records. There are so many more things he accomplished. He flatlined a strong economy before the pandemic. He wasted millions on golfing. He wasted millions more. I take it this guy's not a Trump fan. There were always brilliant ideas we never realized, like preventing wildfires by raking the forest and treating COVID by cutting open schools, laying down Lysol, and drying the sun. Those out of the Constitution declaring himself president for life. He's not. With the facts he presents aren't inaccurate. He presents real facts. Are all of them directly his fault? Of course not. Like anything else, the president takes heat for, and he gets a little hyperbolic at some point. You can tell he doesn't like them, but yeah, I see. I mean, most of those are things I already knew. But I'm not sure now what was. I've read through it. I'm not sure what you wanted. Was there something specific, Flyer, you wanted me to see in that response or respond to? in that response. Let's see. Yeah, I did finally see it. He's got a good bulleted list. Just wanted your thoughts on it. Oh, most of it's stuff that we knew. Listen, I've told you guys all along, Trump is a buffoon. We've known he's a buffoon forever. The unfortunate thing for me as a voter, was he was still by far the better choice. And I take no pride in saying that. And I'm hoping that from the Republican side that DeSantis beats him. But there's not too much to comment on because, again, and a lot of those things he did, a lot of those negatives can be traced directly back to the thing that is the root reason why I have so much of an issue with him is his massive runaway ego. His ego, and it always has been, is to the point where he doesn't live in reality. And it pretty much everything like that goes back to that in some form or another. Yeah, the options weren't good, Duke. You're not wrong. As I said, being a New Yorker, I'm familiar with Trump because he's been popular or known in New York forever, and I've never liked him as a person. Chaos mode for GTA 5. Yeah, I'm seriously thinking about it. We'll have to see with the gaming how it goes. I'll post one. We'll see what happens with it. Tsunami says it's like they don't trust you enough to police your own channel. That's exactly what it is, Tsunami. They ask us if we want to allow everything. And again, especially, I know they don't know this on an individual level, but as I've said over and over, I think we have the best mods I've ever seen on any stream, and I watch lots of streams. We don't have a problem with policing ourselves. Yes. Big Green says, what do they call it again in South Park? Giant douche and turd sandwich, right? 100%. Yeah, again, Flyer, I'd give you more of a take, but he's accurate. Those are all facts. Again, he's got a few of them in there that aren't directly related to the president. But, and again, I'll say it once more, most all of Trump's issues all can be traced back to that insanely inflated ego. It's almost depressing, to be honest with you. No, I can rest in peace, he says. Well, hopefully I answered your question, Flyer. Like I say, most of that stuff, is stuff I knew. But, for somebody who voted for Trump, I'd say I have no love for the man, but I don't even like the guy. It's weird how that's worked out. I think the president whose personality I liked the most, or if they said, hey, you can hang out with one president for a day, it would have been Obama. And I have politically, very little in common with him. But from what I know of him, he seems like, to me anyway, this is my perspective, he seems like a good dude. Trump, who I voted for twice, I think if I had to hang out with him for a day, it'd take about 15 minutes before I'd go to jail. Because you'd have to smack that smug face at some point. Oh, the debate was horrible, Duke. Horrible. Oh, do we have a troll come through? I didn't even. I'm sorry, guys. I was looking it up. I didn't even see what happened. What's going on here? I'm just scrolling back. I didn't see there was any type of controversy or anything going on. I saw something about harassment. I don't see anybody getting harassed. Well, if it's something you guys think I should be aware of, just point me to what was going on. Yeah. I'm Mr. Wall. Donald. Doesn't matter which side of which team you play for in America, he does seem to be, he seems to be the lightning rod. Oh, okay. Flyer says, I just don't follow politics as much, hence why I asked. I gotcha. No, like I say, the guy's not lying. And also, as I said, some of what he's saying happened during Trump's administration did, but they were things that really were no fault of his own. Others were, and I still believe if it wasn't for his ego, he'd still be president. He would have won that election if he was able to say, and I don't think I don't think he has this ability in any way, shape, or form. If he was willing to say, okay, hey, I was wrong about that. I apologize. Now here's what we're going to do. There were several times he should have done that, most notably on COVID, and he probably would still be president. But that ego will never allow him to get up in front of people and say that he was wrong. He'll find a spin. Chrome says, like up front, a stream of Pokemon Violet is one of the things I've considered for an April Fool's vid, but it's not something I could regularly sponsor while I still have Sakura, obviously. I'm going to be interested to see, Chrome. It's farther off than I thought, but it's not that far away. Probably now 4 weeks, maybe 4 weeks away, a little more, to our next poll, to our next nominations and poll. I'm going to be interested to see how Pokemon does. It did really well last time. Chrome says, well, Trump gets views in the news. Biden doesn't really excite people. It's like a sleep aid. True. Yeah, Chrome's got 100%. That's why he gets mentioned as much as he does. Well, we know that not a lot of people were really excited for Biden in the last election. Those were anti-Trump votes. And that was an effective strategy. I mean, it worked. Jack says, I'd love to see you play the Pokemon games. I'd like to learn more about it first. Wouldn't that be, I mean, you guys would know better than me. Wouldn't it be better if I knew more? Because the only thing I know of Pokemon is what I know from playing Pokemon Go. Chrome says, I think you're right about Pokemon winning the poll being a little bit of a long shot. What I think may happen later is the new series could win a poll. It'll be fresh. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, because as I told you guys when we're having those nominations last time, I wouldn't have a problem with that. The little bits and pieces I know about Pokemon has really interested me. Then threatening to shut down for the wall again after 2 months. Shut down for the wall. Yeah, and that's an ego thing too. I'm Mr. Wall, 100%. And the thing of it was, I'm a big advocate of border security. I think it's crucial, and I think the government is completely blowing it, 100%. I think every country has the right to control their own borders. That said, I was never a supporter of his let's build the wall, because yes, there are places along the border, because I try and read, listen to, absorb what people down there working on the border, the border patrols agents say. And a wall isn't the most effective means of combating illegal immigration along a lot of the border. But Trump gets something, it becomes a catchphrase for him, and that's it, and he runs with it. And he can't be wrong, so you can't listen to what anyone else has to say. There's a lot of areas where I remember reading the articles from the people on the front lines of the battle at the border saying, there are sections where we just need more technology. Here's what we need. So no, spending all that money on a wall when the people down there are saying, this section needs wall, this section needs technology, this section needs more manpower, and nobody listens to them. Oh, Philip says, long story short, Curtis, guy came in picking a fight with mods and regulars. Tried to play the victim by saying he was being harassed when he came in looking for a fight. Ah, gotcha. Oh, no problem. I was just curious. Again, I have full and utter trust in you guys taking care of business. I was just curious what it was. And you guys know. I have complete faith. Duke says we can all work together. Gushing to victory and Nuzlocke. I got to admit, though, you guys are getting me my interest kind of peaked in the Pokemon games now. I know Braxton likes them, and his fiance loves them. They were both really excited when the recent two came out, the two colors there. So, and I know a lot of you guys are way into them too. So you do have my interest peaked a little. Chrome says, what I might do for the next poll is try and push two things, maybe the entire Pokemon anime and maybe just the original series, like maybe just the first two seasons of Indigo League could squeeze a win. Yeah, I'd say it's perfectly good with me. Fire says, no doubt he has had his ego problem for a while. Oh, it'd be surreal and interesting if he actually did let go of his ego when he became president. That's what I kept rooting for, Fire. That's what I kept rooting for. When he was elected, I was like, okay, now maybe this will be what it takes for him to gain a broader understanding of the world around him and take advantage of the fact that as president of the United States, you have access, doesn't matter what the topic is, you have access to all the best information out there. And I got thinking, he's an egomaniac, but come on, he's smart enough to take advantage of that. Nope. Didn't happen. Did not happen. And Jack makes a real good point. Narcissists rarely change. And I was disappointed by it. Because, again, there's no politician that I align with down the line, which is why I'm an independent. But from a platitude standpoint, I agree with him on a lot of things. So that was my thoughts. And again, knowing his history, it's like, well, maybe being president, this is what will bring him around towards, toning down the ego, looking out for what's best for all. No, it didn't happen at all. Chrome says, how much pre-warning would you need for an April Fool's G100 stream of Pokemon Violet? They may just do that, then just a first stream, then sponsor it more regularly later. Well, the first stream, the gaming streams, usually, I don't know if that runs long enough. They usually run about 40 minutes. But what I would have to know, the only thing, excuse me, sorry guys. The only things I can stream on right now that I have set up would be PS4 or the PC itself. So I assume they have Pokemon Violet for one of those platforms. Kaiser says, could describe Trump as springtime for Hitler, but for presidency instead of bad movies. Hilarious and bad taste and what the fuck, but somehow successful. That's pretty well put, Kaiser. Duke says, yep, me too. I voted for him, but that ego is just insufferable. It is. And it's so counterproductive. There were so many more things could have been accomplished. But it's never, as Jack said, when you're that much of a narcissist, we're gonna be standing around with our hands on our ass a long time waiting for him to stop feeding his own ego. Oh, Pokemon is Nintendo only. That would be the only problem, Chrome. I have no way of getting it set up to play on here to stream. I only have my little setup where I've got PS4 and supposedly my Xbox X Series is coming today, but even that's going to be downstairs for the family. I wouldn't have any way to play it. Oh, emulators? I didn't think about that, Duke. Then I would have to let Chrome know. I'd have to see if I could get it set up or not. Oh, geez. Here we go. Arthur says Discord just updated their TOS. Can now ban you for misinformation that can cause societal harm. Don't you love those very, very vague terms of service? Oh, in other words, don't you wrong think. That's what they're saying. Arthur says next post, which is, that was it too. Duh. I just happened to read it anyway. I read the next post before I read your super chat, Arthur. Things work backwards in Curtis land. Mortem says, wonder how his hair looks so surreal. Let's see. Chrome says, couldn't we swap the HDMI cables? Pokemon is on the Switch and that connects via HDMI. I'll have to see. My wife, Brax has a Switch. My wife does too. I'll have to locate it. I'll have to see if I can locate it. She hasn't played it in ages. She got it for the Animal Crossing, but she stopped playing it ages ago. I'd have to look. It was before the move. I'd have to look and see if I could even locate it first, and then I could see I could see how much there would, because I still play regularly on the PS4 for the streams. I have to see how much of a change in setup I'd have to make here. But first of all, I'd have to find the Switch. Hey, Johnny, welcome to Size Doesn't Matter. A new SDM member. Size doesn't matter member. That actually goes together well if you think about it. Oh, that user icon. You're right. I didn't even notice that Chrome Hank Hill. Ah, that's a good one. I like that one. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me, guys. Jack says, in the meantime, Discord is still letting 8-year-olds on the servers, and I'm having to deal with the fallouts in schools. Fuck them. Yeah, yeah. Anytime any media platform comes up with terms of service worded like that, that's a red flag. That's like, we have a certain way that we think around here. Don't you rock the boat. That's exactly what that is. Exactly. There's no other reason to put that there other than that you want to control thought. Fire says, next post. Oh, no problem. You're right, too, Mortem. He says, not sure how Trump's hair simultaneously looks thick and thin. It does, too. That's what's really weird about it. I mean, he gets his balls busted about his hair all the time, but you're right. 100% that's what it is. That's so odd. Yeah, I agree. Chrome says, yeah, just to let you know, the Switch uses HDMI and a regular power cable. The dock is not much bigger than the Switch. It should be simple to set up, but I can't guarantee not knowing your setup. Yeah, I'd have to, I say, first, Chrome, I got to see if I can find the Switch. Because, again, my wife hasn't played it in ages. So I'd have to take a look, see if I can find it. Do they still have any issues, though, with streaming Nintendo games? I know they were for a while. I don't really follow it close. Okay. Okay, so Flyer says, so there was this political stream a little while back. Yes. Philip says, in Soviet Russia, there used to be a law against acting against the interests of the Soviet Union, which was one of the vaguest laws ever created. Discord's new rule is just as vague. Right, Philip, that's a huge red flag to me. Anytime one of these social media companies put something like that in terms of service, because there's no other reason for that to be there other than that they want to control your thoughts, or they want to control what thoughts you can express. Flyer says, in what you were talking about, Trump's suggestions about those drugs as alternatives to help COVID. Yep. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Evgeny says, if internet taught us anything, it's that access to information doesn't help if you're an idiot or douche. Truth. I'd expect that Trump ever stops being either. Sad but true. That just has amazed me. Boy, I'll tell you, Trump was an extreme case of ego. But when we think about it, there are so many presidents from both sides of the aisles over the years that refuse to make use of the fact, because it's always blown my mind, to take advantage of the fact that they have access. Doesn't matter what the topic is. You're president of the United States. You can get the best information from the best sources. And so many of them don't bother with it. Let me catch up with Flyer. Trump's suggestion about drugs as alternatives. Yep. You talked about how you thought that they should have been looked into, but they didn't. True. Yep. Well, what happened was it was more of team playing stuff or team battling stuff. It's Trump's idea, so we got to poo-poo it away. I mean, to me, you should have been looking at everything. There were some doctors who were saying they had good results with hydroxychloroquine or whatever it may be. Look into it. That's all. Look into it. Don't immediately shoot it down. And that's what happened, unfortunately. Duke said, if you remember what happened with Count Dankula, he taught his pug to do a Nazi salute as a joke, and he got fines, almost thrown in jail. Was that what it's about? I remember that fear about him, but I didn't remember what it was over, because he taught his dog to do a Nazi salute. I couldn't remember what it was. He started talking about light and bleach, didn't he? Yes. Yeah, he did, Jack Queen. And I think what Flyer is referring to, though, is hydroxychloroquine and the one other drug, which is a name I've forgotten. Chrome says, a lot of people stream Pokemon Violet, so I want to say it'll be fine, but just in case, I'll probably download the stream after. I'll probably message you again in a few days to see if you can do it. Okay. I'll have to, like I said, we've got a lot of stuff still in boxes here. I'll have to see if I can find it. Flyer says, and some dude responded in the chat, so should we put aquarium water through testing too? Remember that stream that yes. Yeah. Well, and he was just another case Flyer of, again, it's the whole team mentality, and everything has to be an attack if it's not in line with your team. And as I told him, I said, well, that's not exactly the quote he made anyway, and that's not even what we're talking about here. It has nothing to do with the conversation at hand, but people just, again, people go off the rails to defend their team when their team isn't even being attacked. Oh, no. It's not that. Chrome says, kind of surprised. I thought you'd be fully set up. We are fully set up, but we don't have as much room here as we did in our old house. Is like a mausoleum. So a lot of things that we weren't going to be using stayed. It's not, we haven't gone through them yet. They stayed in totes or boxes. And I believe I'm hoping that's where the Switch is, because my wife didn't have any plans on using it anytime soon. And I've been playing all PC or PS4. So I'm assuming it's in one of those. Oh, Flyer says, well, I've been trying to find that stream, but I can't find it. Did it get taken down? I wish I could tell you for sure, pal. There's a good chance. It happens so I can't even keep track. It happens so routinely I can't keep track. There's a good chance it did. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I wouldn't have any way to narrow the search for you either. I don't even remember what stream it was in, if it was a Free For All Friday or if it was something that was devoted to politics. I just don't remember, pal. I'd hate to have you kill yourself looking for it, because it could have been taken down. It's very possible. A mausoleum, yeah. But our house was huge, so like I say, it's not that we have to unpack. Is we have so much stuff that isn't going to be unpacked. It was the first official political stream in a while. Okay, I'm kind of remembering that. I didn't take that one down, because at that point I had said screw it. If the only things I take down now are when we do the reaction video streams or the clip streams, because I know those will be a problem. Other than that, I don't take them down, but it absolutely could have been blocked or removed. Happens all the time. If you're not finding it, there's a good chance, Flyer, that, because you obviously can go back to, well, let me hold on before we wrap this up. Let me take a quick look for Flyer, because I don't know if you guys can do that on the channel or not. I have a tab. I can minimize it just to my live streams if YouTube will work. Now YouTube's hanging up. If it'll load, pal, I'll take a quick peek for you. What the hell, YouTube? I've been having problems. I'm surprised the stream went off without any serious hitches. I've been having so much trouble with YouTube loading all day. Well, what he said, Big Ben, I'd have to get the exact quote. No, listen, I'm not arguing with you that it was a stupid quote, but he didn't say to ingest it. He was talking about the ingredients within it. I don't remember the specifics. I'd have to look it up. Again, if you're looking for somebody to be offended because Trump's stupid, you're looking in the wrong place. I'm well aware. All right, let me look back here, pal. Holy crap, I'm back to November and I don't see it either. Man, this is slow. Let me go through again. Okay, there was enough for these offended. These are all regular streams. There's the gaming streams that are, I saw the gaming streams that are sponsored over at the Goosh. There's an Ask Me Anything. I'll bet you they got rid of it, honest, pal. I don't see it. I remember what you're talking about now, because I had said, we hadn't done a a political stream in ages, and I wanted to bring them back in. The only one I see that might be it, there's one I called, did you look at this one? It's called, it's called topical chat. Russian nukes, 2022 elections, whatever else you'd like to discuss. I don't know if that's it or not. That one was how many months ago? That one was October 3rd. I'll give you that link, pal, and you can check it. But that's the only one I can see that even might fit the bill. But here's the link if you want to. You might have already looked at this one. But there's the link if you want to take a peek. Marco says, Pokemon is always the same for me, and you got 1,000 episodes of that. Big Green says, funny how we talked about Trump so much today. I finally read a Death Note short stories manga I bought, and Trump gets involved in one of those stories. They just call him Mr. President, though. Oh, really? That's kind of cool. Big Banus says, you're just a right-wing stooge. Oh, are you doing an offensive Asian accent there? You're a right-wing stooge? Come on, if you're going to try to attack someone and fail, you could at least spell all the words in your failure properly. You're used to failing. Yeah, that's the only one I can find, Flyer, that might be it, and that's going all the way back to October. I didn't think it was that long ago, but one thing I've noticed as I get older, it gets even harder to keep perspective on how long ago things took place. I'm a right-wing stooge, Jack Queen. Chrome says, I'll say this, Pokemon is fairly friendly to new players. The anime is designed to have an entry point for new people at the start of each new game generation. That's why the franchise is so successful. Well, that's cool. We haven't streamed as much lately, though, Chrome. It only took me, I brought up the list and have 50 on the list, and I was almost to the bottom of it when I got to that one. But again, well, I shouldn't even say that because we haven't streamed as much, but a lot of the streams are missing probably because they got taken down. With streams, I lose track. I'll get the notifications every so often in my email. And it's just like, yeah, take them. Have a blast. Asian, what the fuck are you talking about? Jesus Christ, Banish, you're not too bright, are you? You couldn't, as base a joke as that, and it was too much for you to handle? Guys, was that joke too deep for you? Nobody got the bad Asian accent joke, or just Banish here? Duke says, sadly, when you streamed last time, the time I saw notifications, it was over. Oh, well, the notifications go out late routinely. And again, when you question YouTube about it, they will not give you any answers as to why, because I've asked many times, why if I start a stream at 1, do people get notifications on it at 5? Doesn't happen. Okay. You're not racist? What's racist? Explain. Guys, Banis wants you to know he's not racist. I'm lost. I don't know what that is. So I don't know that. Now you're onto something, Vanis, with your last assertion there. So you don't know. You are correct. Yes, you don't know anything. You are a little racist, Jack Queen. Yeah, racist, Johnny. Are any of you guys racist? Banis wants you to know he's not. He's illiterate, but he's not racist. Important distinction. I would hope he's not racist too. Flyer says, just got back. I don't think that's it. No. Political stream was in the title. It wasn't that long ago. Must be gone. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's gone then, Flyer, because that list I go through is just live streams, and that was the only one, as you can see, going all the way back to October, that had anything in the title that would have led us down a political path. That's what I was trying to think of. Maybe it came in on a Free For All Friday stream or something, but yeah, that's probably what it was. They just took it down. Bana says, this channel is so toxic. You're right. We've infected you. Go out and live your life. Be happy. You don't have long to go. Our toxicity here, lethal. Hey, but good for you. What is that? That's a 5-word sentence, and you spelled all of them correctly. Attaboy, Bucky. Racist sounds like something dirty. It kind of does, doesn't it, Duke? It does. It sounds like it could be something a little perverted. Then maybe I want to be racist. I got to find out more about this. Sounds like something I might need to be in on. Chrome says, as for Pokemon Violet, you'd still be around the opening after 40 minutes, but you'll get a good feel for the franchise with 40 minutes. Meet some Pokemon, do some battles, and have a sandwich stolen. Yeah, don't you dirty the word dirty, Jack says. That would be the only thing. I just don't, I can't make any promises because I'm trying to think where I might have it. It'd be tough for me to rip apart too many because we're getting ready for Brax to come down here. So we're actually taking a lot of these totes, boxes, stuff that we're not going to use, and I'm setting up areas in the garage. We're only going to use the one side of the garage for one of our cars, and then store all the rest of the stuff, because when Brax and Brittany get here, we're going to need all the room we can make. Oh, Vanish, you're on a roll. No, wait, I got, when you wrote seek help and you misspelled seek, are you trolling or are you really that illiterate? Seriously. Come on. Okay, guys, you guys got to chime in. He wrote seek help as S-E-A-K help. Now, with me having just observed how illiterate he was, that would actually be funny if he did it on purpose. What do you think? I'm not sure. Or do you think, was that a, he's either 9 or an idiot, Jack says, but was that intentional or is he really that illiterate? I think you should seek a dictionary, Big Green says. Probably dyslexic? You think so, Kaiser? I don't know, though. Doesn't dyslexia, I'm not super familiar, doesn't that just jumble the letters for you? Or does it prevent you from being able to spell? I don't know. That could go either way. If he did it on purpose, I got to give him credit. That was pretty funny. If he did it because he's illiterate, then it's just kind of sad. Oh, Evgeny says maybe Rassus is a follower of Ra's al Ghul, Batman's enemy. Oh. I'll have to learn more about him then so I can know, Evgeny, if I'm actually racist or not. I type fast and make mistakes, fool. Here's the funny thing. You're calling somebody else a fool when you just admitted to being stupid. So if you type fast and make mistakes, what you should do is type slower and not make mistakes. Whoa, what an idea. I know I present myself as an illiterate moron, but there's nothing I can do. I type fast. This is fun. Oh, Vanis, please keep going. We've had a lot of, well, let's call it as it is, stupid people here drop in over the years, but he's in the running now. Pity the fool. You fool, Excalibur, probably, yeah. Flyer says, what is this being offended you speak of? Ooh, that's creepy. Zuchan says racist. Sounds like a combination of rapist and racist. Ooh. That's a double header of evil right there. Well, I'm sure those two things intersect at some points. I'm positive they do. Oh, so maybe it is a legit word then. Big Green says, yeah, I feel like there's an easy fix to making mistakes due to typing fast. Yes. And it's not like his responses were coming up quickly. If you'll notice, there was plenty of time in between. Yeah, I think we're dealing with a lot here other than just speed being the issue. This is fun. And the thing of it is, he extended the stream for us because I was going to tie the stream up some time ago. I still got a lot to do. This went way over what I had planned, but now I'm having so much fun. I'm having such a good time. It's like hard to wrap it up. What's your malfunction? Seriously, you don't use any. You're so illiterate. You don't have any punctuation, so it's hard to determine. What's your malfunction? Seriously. Do you want a serious question to that? Are you looking for a serious, or is malfunction seriously something someone can own? See, those are two separate thoughts. It would be, what's your malfunction? Question mark. Seriously, period, exclamation point, something like that. The way you wrote it is just further proof, well, that you're dumb. And if you want to sit for a list of my malfunctions, at the top of them is, if you call it a malfunction, I think it functions perfectly well. I really enjoy poking fun at slow-witted trolls. I don't think that's a malfunction, though. So no, I don't have any malfunctions. I just think it's funny that you're stupid. Visionary says, I feel like they need to make drag shows illegal for anyone under the age 18. It's absolutely insane how children are being victimized by these predators. The video I saw of it was so disturbing. Yeah, we during the podcast portion, Visionary, I know you came in later. You have a lot of people that agree with you on that. Flyer says, I saw Chrome make a response saying Curtis is a racist. I never even seen him drive a regular car. Maybe he meant bassist, Kaiser says. Oh, and he said he's not one. So he's not a bassist either. He's a front man. He's the face of the band. Ain't no bassist in the background. All right, guys, I do have to go, though. Wow, this is the longest stream we've had in a long time. This is almost 2 hours. But I got to go, and I got to edit this down so I can, excuse me, and plus my voice is going. I can post the, excuse me, I can post the podcast as well. Oh, no, wait a second. See, now, if Ben, he keeps pulling me back in. He wrote punctuation on YouTube, seriously? And he used seriously again and misused it in the grammatically once more. If he wasn't stupid, you don't understand, Bandis. You're so dumb. You're creating great comedy, but you're doing it accidentally. You're being called out for being illiterate, and then you just hammer home the illiteracy over and over again. This is pure gold. Oh, and also, just so you guys know, the punctuation, if you're commenting on a YouTube video, according to our racist, if you're commenting on YouTube, you can't do it eloquently. You have to type as if you're a complete and utter moron who can't string a cohesive thought together, because racist. Oh, no, he's not a racist. The non-racist says so. He's not a speed racist, Kaiser says. That's good. Well, that was fun. At least Vanis came in here and gave us a little entertainment while he can. It's just a matter of time till something goes horribly wrong for him. I'm thinking with the level of thought he can put into anything, it's probably not going to be a bright future. But guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for all the input on the podcast today. And I am hoping, again, as long as nothing goes wrong, I'm hoping tomorrow that we'll be back with Free for All Friday, and that will be part of the podcast. It'll be interesting to see if I can start getting, the podcast is brand new. If we can start getting people in there listening to it, what they'll think of Free for All Friday. Guys, and my voice is gone. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And I will see all you racists tomorrow.